Hello everyone, batching into our latest forecast for the United States. So we're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days across America for this video. And we'll also have a look at CFSB2 for the next 4 weeks. That will take us towards the end of August in America. So I'll get on with that for you very shortly. We'll begin in the tropical Atlantic. Things are developing a little bit there, so more about that in a moment. Just to say that these videos for the United States are YouTube exclusives. So if you want to know when we are releasing these forecasts for America, you will need to subscribe to the GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel. Click all notifications and then you'll be notified when we are releasing this content. And a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Right, let's get on with it then. Quite a lot to discuss for this video. So we've got two disturbance areas in the tropical Atlantic. We've got a tropical depression and a tropical storm. So this is tropical depression 8 just here. So tropical depression 8 is giving maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 1007 millibars, and 8 is moving west-northwestwards at 9 miles per hour. If we click on tropical depression 8, we can see what's forecast to happen by going to wind cone and warning cone and static images. So this is forecast to become a tropical storm by tomorrow. At the moment, tropical depression it becomes a tropical storm by tomorrow, and then over the weekend it's going to, as a tropical storm, going to move into Texas, onto the Gulf Coast of Texas, and then moving further inland, bring copious amounts of rain to that far southern part of the United States. So yes, it's going to give a deluge to Texas, and then on into Mexico, I suppose, will give copious amounts of rain as it does so. And then, of course, we also have Gonzalo down here. We've got Tropical Storm Gonzalo in the far southern part of the tropical Atlantic. This one is a long way southwards. Currently giving maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour with minimum central pressure of 997 millibars, moving quite quickly westward at 14 miles per hour. Let's click on Gonzalo, see what they're saying about this one. So it is forecast to become a Category 1 hurricane by tomorrow. So at the moment, Tropical Storm Gonzalo, but by tomorrow, up to a Category 1 hurricane. And then Gonzalo is forecast to push in that direction westward into the southern part of the Caribbean. So somewhere between sort of Cuba, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico just there, and Venezuela just here in the southern part of America. As a Category 1 hurricane at the moment, it's not being forecast to go any further than a Category 1 hurricane. But obviously, that's only a prediction, and it does need to be kept a very close eye on. These things can power up more than anticipated. By the early part of next week, back down to a tropical storm, and then a tropical storm somewhere close to Jamaica, perhaps, sometime around the early part of next week. So yes, Tropical Depression 8 and Tropical Storm Gonzalo, we will keep a close eye on these storms over the next few days, of course. This is late in terms of the upper level winds and so on from earthnullschool.net. So just zooming in a little bit more, you can see that we have got our easterly trade winds blowing across the tropical Atlantic at the moment. Warm sea surface temperature anomalies as well in the tropical Atlantic. So and we are bringing less air out of Africa, as I've been explaining a few weeks ago. We've bring quite a lot of dust and sand and whatnot out of Saharan Africa into the tropical Atlantic. That has an inhibiting effect on the development of thunderstorms in the tropical Atlantic when you've got lots of dust and sand in the upper part of the atmosphere. But we've got much less of that now, as the air is not being brought out of Saharan Africa quite as much. If you have a look at the particulates, so we can get rid of that by clicking that. So you see this close to like the coast of Africa. We do still have quite a bit of dust and sand here in this sort of area. But as we come out further into the tropical Atlantic, particularly more southern part of the tropical Atlantic where Gonzalo has formed, there we have much less of this dust and stuff. And also around here, around the Caribbean and in the Gulf, there's very little there now. So I suspect that at the moment we probably won't see too much forming around the Cabo Verde Islands just here. That tends to be an area where we get a lot of thunderstorms and things forming around there, but probably still a little bit too much dust for like the classic scenario of thunderstorms around here developing into tropical storm and then a hurricane and going all the way in that sort of direction. Probably still a little bit too much dust and sand for that, but I expect what storms we do get for now will be more in the southern part of the tropical Atlantic through here, and probably through the Caribbean and also through the Gulf of Mexico, maybe there as well. But we'll keep a close eye on developments, of course, over the next few weeks. I think it's going to be a big season. If we go back to here, we can see that in the Pacific we also have a disturbance. If we go to Eastern Pacific, we also have Hurricane Douglas through here. But actually things in the Pacific, in the tropical Pacific, have been quite quiet this season. And when the Pacific is quiet, I saw Joe Bastardi tweeted about this earlier on today. Apparently when the Pacific is quiet, you tend to get it more active in the Atlantic. I think this has been the quietest start to the season in the Pacific Ocean, hurricane season in the Pacific Ocean, since 2005. That was a very, very big hurricane season. It's the biggest hurricane season on record, I believe. So what's happening in the Pacific? Well, although we have got a hurricane at the moment, we've got Hurricane Douglas, but what's happening in the Pacific at the moment, where it's relatively quiet, is probably quite ominous for the Atlantic, and I still think we're going to be in for a big season over in the Atlantic with a lot of tropical storms, yes, and also probably a lot of hurricanes as well as we get further on into the season. We shall see. Okay, so let's have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation on southern Delaware today on the mid-Atlantic coast, mid-Atlantic state. So the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Delaware. We're starting off warm and average. It's been a very, very warm, hot month, not only up the eastern seaboard of the states, but through most parts of America. It has been a very hot July. Indeed, it remains very warm too. It's going to get even hotter actually sort of over the weekend and into next week. Temperatures again really lifting up. But as we come to the end of July into the early part of August, it does look as though we're seeing the temperatures beginning to drop back a little bit in Delaware. And that could well be indicative of many northern and eastern parts of America. I think as we go into August, we might see the heat wave sort of relenting a little bit, and we may have a rather cooler August or start to August anyway, for northern and eastern parts of the states. More about that in a moment. Precipitation-wise, also plenty of rainfall coming up, so there'll be lots of heavy thunderstorms as well when we've got these hot temperatures, and then maybe some longer spells of rain as we go into the early part of August and the temperature begins to fall back. So quite wet over the next couple of weeks. Hot initially, and then temperatures beginning to lower perhaps a little bit as we get into the early part of August. Temperature anomalies from the 23rd to the 31st of July, much hotter than average across most of those western states. In the east, it does vary from area to area, so in the southeast, it's a little bit cooler there. Up the east coast, it looks pretty hot still, and around the Great Lakes up towards the northeast, also looking pretty hot. Generally, most parts of America are still very warm in the week ahead. Rainfall anomalies, precipitation anomalies look like that, so dry on the western states, very dry in the western part of America. Otherwise, again, it varies from area to area. All of this wet weather down here is being caused by Tropical Depression 8, of course, and into southern parts of, or southeast parts of Texas. Going further northwards, quite dry around the Great Lakes, over towards the northeast, and then wetter through some of these midwestern states, perhaps. It does vary from area to area, indicative of a lot of thunderstorms. Right, so this is the latest GFS run, the 6Z, and at the moment, of course, it remains pretty hot across most parts of America, particularly the central east states. It is a little bit cooler out towards the northwest, though. Hot weather maintained into tomorrow. There's the upper air temperatures for Saturday, I should say. This is 6 o'clock in the morning Saturday, European time. Again, it looks hot really from west to east, west coast to east coast across America. Particularly hot through the western states, of course, but also hot over towards the east states. A little bit cooler up towards the Pacific Northwest, and just a little bit cooler perhaps up towards the Canadian border. But generally, it is a hot scene through most parts of North America. That ridge continues off the east coast of America Sunday, again pulling up those hot southerly winds too, and we keep this hot weather going through into the early part of next week, maybe going increasingly volatile. Let's just go back though very quickly, and of course this is the Tropical Depression 8 just here in the Gulf of Mexico right now, and you can see that by the time we get through to Saturday, Tropical Depression 8 is moving into the southeastern part of Texas. Again, from the Gulf of Mexico, will be bringing copious amounts of rain with it at that point as well. Right, moving on into the middle part of next week. Well, then we start to get this trough of low pressure, this area of low pressure developing over Canada, and beginning to try and push down into northern parts of the state. Still a lot of hot ridging, though, through most parts of America to the middle part of next week. So to the middle part of next week, heat wave is maintained through many parts of America, but very gradually in this northeastern corner, got this area of low pressure up towards Canada, and we are starting to pull in some cooler, fresher air from Canada into the far north and northeast of America through the second half of next week. It'll probably be accompanied by thunderstorms and also prolonged periods of rain. But you see how the upper air temperatures are just beginning to ease back, just beginning to slide back a little bit across the far north and northeast by Thursday. However, many parts of the states are still looking hot. Much of the south and the east are looking hot, and very hot, real heat wave conditions over on the western side of America. Heading up towards day 10, that's how we look. Again, just suggestion that there's a trough of low pressure here from the Great Lakes up to the northeast, possibly bringing some showers, some longer spells of rain, and some cooler air from Canada as well. Very hot temperatures, though, through those central and western states. There's the upper air temperatures, well, it should be upper air temperatures, but as we go on in towards the 6th of August, we still have this area of low pressure up to the north of America across Canada. Again, still just suggesting some showers, longer spells, rain, and cooler temperatures too for far north and northeast America. The heat is in the south and also over in the west as well. Could be some sort of tropical disturbance through the Gulf there around Thursday 6th. We've got some sort of elongation in the isobars here. That could be the start of a disturbance area that possibly forms into an area of low pressure by Saturday the 8th, moving on to the Gulf Coast there in the southeastern part of the states. There's the upper air temperatures for Saturday the 8th of August, and you see again the idea is definitely there, but it is a little bit cooler across the far north, possibly to northeast, just a little bit cooler with the upper air temperatures as northerly winds being pulled out of Canada. However, it still looks pretty hot even now in this eastern southeastern part, and over in the west obviously still very, very hot through there indeed. That's as far as we can go with the GFS today to Saturday the 8th of August. Up to the 8th of August, there's no definitive sign of a hurricane hitting any part of America, but that disturbance area just there does need to be kept an eye on. That could be some sort of tropical depression that might develop further in the next few model runs. We'll have to see. ECM looks like that. The Euro, again, suggesting a lot of hot weather across many parts of America tomorrow and into the weekend as well. There's the upper air temperatures for the weekend, showing that from the west coast to the east coast it is a very hot scene through most parts of America. So it's hot July continues for the time being, with temperatures above average pretty much everywhere really. Into next week, hot weather to start the week, but then this trough of low pressure beginning to push out of Canada into the very far north. That's bringing heavy showers and thunderstorms with it, and probably suggests a drop in temperature as well as this trough pushes out of Canada through the north and the northeast states. So it's from the Great Lakes to the northeast, possibly affecting some of these mid-Atlantic states. We possibly see the temperature just falling back there through the middle part of next week. The heat wave just relenting a little bit for the far north and northeast. You notice the upper air temperatures are lowering. They're still very warm because it's still midsummer in America, but the upper air temperatures are lowering to some degree there through the middle part of next week in the north and northeast, but otherwise it remains hot through most parts of the states. Heading up towards day 10 with the Euro, that's how we're looking. So if anything, might be suggesting those hotter winds are pushing back from the south again actually by day 10. This is Saturday the 2nd of August, perhaps suggesting that the heat wave begins to re-intensify if anything for some of these northern and northeastern states. The GFS doesn't really agree with that. The Euro is probably the better model though, so that's actually bringing the heat wave back north and northeastwards again as we go through into the start of August. Let's have a look at CFS-V2 finally. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us from the 23rd, 29th of July. The coming week maintains a heat wave really much of the time anyway, with this ridge across much of the north and the east of America pulling up these hot southerly winds. So it's what we've had throughout July, really very hot conditions continuing, particularly through much of the north and the east. Signs of a bit of a change for week 2. This is the 30th of July to the 5th of August. That ridge is weakening, still there a little bit towards the Great Lakes, but it looks like the ridge is weakening. Possibly a low jet stream just comes southwards a little bit, maybe. So perhaps just seeing the heat wave easing off a bit, particularly for those northern and eastern states, maybe. And that change continues into week 3. This is the 6th through to the 12th of August, with then a trough of low pressure coming out of Canada into northern and eastern parts of America. That will bring the jet stream southwards with it, and we'll start to pull cooler winds out of Canada, lowering the temperature. And then by the time we get through to week 4, which is the 13th to the 19th of August, all the ridging has gone really, and we've just got a trough of low pressure somewhere in the north to northwest. I expect the jet stream is coming southwards. It's probably just turning generally more changeable at that point through many parts of America. Temperatures look like this. So for week 1, 23rd to 29th of July, it's hot in the east and the northeast. It's cool in the west. So yes, it remains hot across much of the east and also the northeast too. In the week ahead, heat wave conditions continue. Week 2 is the 30th of July to 5th of August, cooling down through many of these midwestern and eastern states. The east coast itself still looks pretty warm. Over in the west, it also looks quite hot there. But those midwestern and some northeastern states look like they are cooling down, the heat wave beginning to relent. Week 3 is the 6th through to the 12th of August, still quite warm up the east coast, you'll notice. Up the eastern seaboard, still pretty warm. West coast also looking quite warm. In between, particularly through the Midwest and going northwards up towards Canada, it is quite a lot cooler through there. This does suggest a significantly cooler August, I think, than this very hot July that we have through most parts of America. Week 4 is the 13th to the 19th of August. Again, still quite warm on the east coast. Otherwise, though, most parts of the states cooling down. The message is cooling down, I think, in August compared to the very hot July that we have had. Rainfall-wise, finally, so these eastern, northeastern states very dry. Southern states looking quite wet from Tropical Depression 8, of course. This is week 2 precipitation, 30th of July to 5th of August. Dry in the north, wetter in the south. Week 3 looks generally unsettled for most parts of the states. This is the 6th through to the 12th of August. Generally quite unsettled for most parts of the states, although the eastern seaboard is still rather dry. And then week 4 is the 13th to the 19th of August. Again, rather unsettled for most parts of the states, particularly the Midwest and over to the east. It's a little bit drier in the northeast and also down in the southeast too. I think the main takeaway is that after this really hot July for most parts of the United States, August is likely to be quite a bit cooler, especially through the Midwest and through the northeast, where it has been so very, very hot during this month. I think we are likely to see a cooler August. It still looks pretty warm for August on the eastern coast, on the east seaboard, and the west, of course, as always. The southwest looks quite hot. And as things cool down through the interior of America, I think that again could be something that helps to promote tropical storm and hurricane activity in the Caribbean. So if things start to cool down inland in the United States, that could be something that starts to help to promote this tropical storm and hurricane season in the Atlantic. And longer term, all eyes will be on what's happening in the tropical Atlantic, of course, with these storms and potentially hurricanes. Okay, I'm going to do another update for the United States on Monday. If you enjoyed this video for the United States, then please give us a like. Don't forget to share it as far and wide as you possibly can across social media and anywhere else that you like. And also, don't forget to tell your friends, subscribe to the channel, and that'll be absolutely great if you can all do that for GavsWeatherVids. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.